It's Friday, October 7. In the headlines, Jamaica's security forces receives 6 new boats. Bernard Lodge development plan moving ahead. Regionally in Barbados, authorities believe there's potential for Fintech industry to be the main economic driver. And in sports, World Cup preparations in Qatar, and Australia sees victory against the Windies. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Defending champions Bel-Air High School will join 15 schools across Jamaica as participants of this year's National Tourism Debate. It was officially launched during a semi-virtual ceremony at the Montego Bay Convention Center in Rose Hall, St. James this week. The other participating institutions includes Calabar High School, Immaculate Conception High School, Cornwall College, Holland High School, Charlemont High School, Edwin Allen High, Woolmer's Girls School, Jamaica College, York Castle High School, the Carteret College, Woolmer's Boys School, the Mannings School, St. George's College, Glenmore High School, and Kingston College. The institutions will compete in the knockout-style debate set to commence in 2 weeks and culminate in November. The preliminary rounds will be held online before schools go face-to-face. The winner will book a spot in the regional competition. The event is funded at a cost of $3.5 million and is organized by the Tourism Enhancement Fund. TEF's Executive Director, Dr. Kerry Wallace, indicates that the entity is heavily invested in Jamaica's future generation, particularly those interested in a career in tourism.
In Jamaica, our natural asset is our tourism assets. It's our beaches, our rivers, our waterfalls, our valleys, our mountains. It's our diversity, it's our gastronomy, it's our cultural assets as well too. But it makes us in the top 10 in the world as far as brand and reputation and how sought after we are as an industry. No wonder we're growing 30 times the national average, because this is like having great diamonds here, our natural assets that people want. So they travel thousands of miles. You're traveling more to Jamaica. Jamaica has the highest repeat rate in the entire Caribbean. 42% of the visitors come back a second time. So are we aligning our human resources with the #1 industry that has the greatest potential for growth?
Steamhouse Network is set to collaborate with the Department of Correctional Services to teach inmates of the South Camp Juvenile Remand and Correctional Center about coding and robotics. Deputy Commissioner for Rehabilitation and Probation Aftercare Services, Dr. Mark Thomas, made the disclosure at the handover ceremony for donated ICT devices.
We are answering the Prime Minister's call to promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics by introducing right here at South Camp this month a course in coding and robotics. We are steadfast, ladies and gentlemen, in preparing our children for the jobs of the future. And these devices will allow each child to truly be able to hone their skills that they'll be learning.
Currently, the DCS provides a wide variety of academic programs. These include remedial reading, mathematics, social studies, art and craft, music, and English.
At this point, 100% of our juveniles are engaged in academic and vocational studies, primarily because it is mandatory, but it's happening. And hundreds of adults voluntarily join in an academic or vocational class or two. We also have inmates pursuing tertiary studies in the form of an associate degree program through UCC. So at this given moment, across our correctional facility, there's an inmate learning how to read and write, there's another pursuing CSEC, and another taking a college-level course.
6 new maritime vessels have been added to Jamaica's security forces fleet. The boats, which were donated by the government of Japan, will boost Jamaica's capability to patrol the country's waters. One of those vessels was handed over to the Jamaica Constabulary Force this week. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, was on hand to convey gratitude on behalf of the nation.
You may have heard that the tugboat was made possible with grant aid to Jamaica in the amount of 400 million Japanese yen for the purchase of multiple marine vessels. Jamaica is indeed gratified that this has come as we continue to take active steps to secure our maritime borders. We therefore are delighted that this high-speed, extreme weather-crafted boat has been procured. And Vice Minister, you and your government can be assured that it will be used well.
State Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Xavier Main, says the boats will enhance Jamaica's maritime security and disaster response capabilities.
We are grateful for this partnership as it is in keeping with the mandate of the Ministry of National Security to establish a safe and secure Jamaica through effective law and public order. A key factor to achieving this goal is to ensure that the security forces are equipped with the necessary tools to ensure the effective policing of our borders. The government of Jamaica continues to ensure and undertake significant measures to strengthen our efforts in coastal surveillance and protection while enhancing our maritime security.
Commissioner of Police, Major General Anthony Anderson, also made note of how the boats will be used.
A lot of that work is done by the Coast Guard, and a lot of our work as the Marine Police is done inshore, close to the ports, policing type work at sea. So to get our maritime space covered, it requires partnerships. Partnerships between all of those agencies that have a part to play in our border management. At the same time, we're an economy that's very reliant on tourism. And part of that tourism product, of course, is our sea and our beaches. And the Marine Police, a lot of the role that we play is not only the security in that regard, but also safety and how that space, that maritime space inshore, is used so that people who are visiting and even our local people can enjoy a beach, and persons who have business at sea like jet skis and so on can also use the same space, and all of that can be done safely.
Meanwhile, Parliamentary Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs of Japan, Matoshi Akimoto, says as part of the broader partnership, an officer from Jamaica's Ministry of National Security is in Japan being trained in maritime rescue and maritime disaster prevention. 142 farmers have been settled on plots of land as part of the Bernard Lodge Development Plan in St. Catherine. That's the word from Prime Minister Andrew Holness. He made an update on the plan in Parliament this week. Mr. Holness says the SCJ Holdings has paid more than $650 million in compensation to the farmers.
A structured and orderly settlement plan was undertaken, which included relocation, formalization of leases, and payment arrangements associated with those leases, and assessment of costs associated with this exercise. Nonetheless, to date, some 142 farmers have been orderly and formally settled on plots of land and have received compensation.
The Prime Minister says additional works, including expansion of storm water drains, farm road rehabilitation, among others, are ongoing.
The cost of land clearance and preparation, farm road construction and rehabilitation, the opening and expansion of stormwater drains, the provision of electricity, and the construction of an irrigation system has also been borne by the SCJ, and work is ongoing.
Mr. Holness informed that irrigation water is now provided to farmers by the Rio Cobre Canal system,
which cost for the time being is absorbed by the SCJ until the construction of a modern pressurized irrigation system is completed. And we have started the engineering designs on this pressurized irrigation system already.
He notes that there is a well-structured agro-park that has the potential to become a model for agricultural development in the Caribbean. The Greater Bernard Lodge Development Plan will create an integrated community of 5,400 acres of land, of which 3,027 acres are dedicated to agriculture and the remaining designated to housing, light industrial and commercial activities, social services, open and recreational space, and an urban center.
So far, the Cabinet has approved the sale of some 1,225 acres of land for mixed residential, commercial, and light industrial purposes to 7 different developers. Cabinet has also approved the transfer of 102 acres of land to the National Housing Trust and the Housing Agency of Jamaica at zero cost, as part of the effort to lower the cost of housing to persons of limited means.
Time now for your regular market updates and other business stories. Danita Rodney is at the business desk.
According to data from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, output prices for producers in the mining and quarrying industry declined by 0.4% for the month of August 2022. The decline is said to be primarily attributed to a 0.4% fall in the index for bauxite mining and alumina processing. There was also a decline in the index for other mining and quarrying, which moved down by 0.1%. For your market updates, in foreign exchange trading for Thursday, October 6, the US dollar sold for an average of $154.36. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $113.06. The pound sterling traded for $175.18, and the euro sold for an average of $154.54. In JSE trading, the JSE index advanced by 2,003 points. The junior market index advanced by 70 points. The combined market index advanced by 2,508 points. And the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 3,348 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 104 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 47 declined, and 21 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 1834 Investments Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Verbal Preference, Access Financial Services Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Trading firm were Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Deferred Share. The overall volume leaders were Foswich Company Limited with over 8 million units, Trans Jamaican Highway Limited, and Spiritory Spices Jamaica Limited with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Lico Investment Fund posted over 60,000 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Government of Barbados Bond Series B was the sole security trading over 100,000 shares. In regional business, Tobago hoteliers are being cautious about plans to raise the cost of travel between Trinidad and Tobago for tourists. More in this report.
Stakeholders in Tobago's tourism sector are cautious about the pending increase in fares to travel between Trinidad and Tobago. In last week's budget, Finance Minister Colin Membert announced increases on both the cost of plane and boat tickets to reduce costs incurred due to subsidized travel. In the wake of the announcement, Chief Secretary Farley Augustine suggested charging tourists the full unsubsidized price to fly between the islands. Caroline Birchwood James, Vice President of the Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association, says while the Chief Secretary's suggestion has merit, her association wants to see if the initial change will have any impact on tourism on the island before clamoring for such a change. Birchwood James says, as far as I know, we have to wait until January, so we have a wait-and-see attitude at this time. Birchwood adds, I'm sure that we will have to do some research because what we are doing right now is attempting to get more visitors, not less. But whether foreign visitors should enjoy the subsidy, That's another question.
In international business, the International Monetary Fund is once again lowering its projections for global economic growth in 2023. The announcement was made by Executive Director Kristalina Georgieva on Thursday.
We will see, we always come around the annual meetings with our World Economic Outlook, that we are further downgrading our growth projections for next year. And we will be flagging that the risks of recession are rising. Our estimate is that 1/3 of countries around the world, this is the 1/3 share of the world economy, would experience at least 2 consecutive quarters of contraction this year and next year. And even in countries where growth is positive, for hundreds and millions of people, it would feel like recession because inflation is eating into real incomes. Overall, we expect global output as a result of all this to shrink between now and 2026 by $4 trillion. To give you a sense what is $4 trillion, this is the size of the German economy. Gone. And unfortunately, I'm the natural optimist, but today I stand in front of you and I need to say, more likely to get worse than to get better. In other words, risks are, as we say at the fund, on the downside.
In market data for oil prices rose about 2% and was headed for a second consecutive weekly gain, supported by an OPEC decision to make its largest supply cut since 2020, despite concern about recession and rising interest rates. Brent crude was up $1.70 to $96.12, and West Texas Intermediate crude gained $1.72 to $90.17 per barrel. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, with an influx of Venezuelan migrants in Guyana, Minister of Labor Joseph Hamilton has said his ministry will work with all partners to train these persons to work in Guyana. The economic crisis in Venezuela has caused many to cross the border.
And we hope to develop a framework to facilitate that. And so we're at early days where we're discussing. The CEO and some other senior officers of the ministry, they were in conversations with UNHCR. We hope that in a week's time we'll have a framework that we can say to the public, this is how this will happen. The fact is they're here. And if you're thinking as a government, you don't want them to be destitute. We must make them productive because they're in this space. We must bring them to a place where they can contribute to the state. We have power to ensure that we fashion them in our space. And that's the way I see it. And I see it don't take away from what we have to do for Guyanese. It don't. It cannot and would not. The more of these people you can train and have them come into formal job, it is better for the nation.
In St. Kitts and Nevis, the future of the Citizenship by Investment program is an area of focus for the Terence Drew administration, especially in light of potential threats by the European Union to remove visa-free travel to their member states. More in this SKN report.
Visa-free access is one of the attractions of the Citizenship by Investment programs in the Caribbean. Wealthy applicants from countries that normally would need a visa to enter the European Schengen region would have easier access with a St. Kitts Nevis passport or another passport from an OACS country. Removing visa-free access to European countries can seriously damage the CBI program, making it unattractive to these applicants. As such, Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew, in an exclusive interview with SK Newsline recently, said addressing these concerns raised by the European Parliament a few months ago is one of his priorities.
In general, there is some work to be done to make sure that we keep it stable. For example, when I got in, there was information on my desk that we needed to communicate with the Europeans, that I had to quickly pull the team together to make sure that we meet the deadlines and so forth.
We've heard in recent times that Europeans in particular have expressed concerns about the visa-free access that St. Kitts and Nevis and other countries that have CBI programs in the Caribbean, they have concerns about those countries and about those programs.
We are looking at that long term, in the long term as well. As I told you, I met some documentation on my desk in terms of responding to the Europeans, which we did. I brought a committee together, and that committee, we would have put with the CIU that information together so that we can get it to European. And so we're going to keep that committee in place.
Political and social commentator Dwyer Astvan believes the leaders of CBI countries should come together and address this issue collectively.
In order for us to standardize this CBI business and save it, we're going to have to collaborate with the other islands that do it. Otherwise, we're going to fail by 2025. The European Union will block us out, and that's the end of us. They don't want to block us out from making a living. They know we don't have oil, we don't have these things. So we need something to give us cash flow. All they're saying, just do it transparently, do it properly.
Some European parliamentarians have recommended for the EU to issue an ultimatum to countries offering CBI schemes to end these programs or risk losing their visa-free status. St. Kitts and Nevis has one of the oldest CBI programs in the world, which started in 1984.
The fintech industry could easily become Barbados' main economic driver. That's what Chief Technology Officer of Fintech Kurt Passad told CBC News on the sidelines of the inaugural Global Fintech Conference, which began on Wednesday.
This absolutely could be our second industry or our number one industry, right? Surpassing even tourism. Because Barbados has a few characteristics that we think lends to the development of that industry. It's a very stable economy, right? We have great weather, we have friendly people, we have great infrastructure in terms of connectivity, Wi-Fi and stuff like that, right? And it has a welcoming government in terms of being open to the ideas of governance and positive regulations that will drive an industry like that.
In Grenada, the Special Victims Unit is on a drive to sensitize the public on the prevalence of sexual abuse against children. Kristalina John tells us about the planned activities.
The child is innocent. Stop child sexual abuse. To further sensitize the public on the prevalence of abuse, the Special Victims Unit of the Criminal Investigation Department will embark on 2 national walks this month. This forms part of their 4th anniversary. According to woman detective Samika Fari, the first will be held in Grenville, St. Andrew on October 14th and the second on October 20th in St. George. The public is invited to join the walk. In their attempt to stamp out violence and abuse, they are encouraging to wear the color orange on the designated days.
The walk will be on the 14th of October 2022, 9 a.m. We're starting off with an opening ceremony at the Grenville car park, followed by a walk through the town. A short ceremony, and the keynote speaker on that day will be Mr. Pearson Stroud. He's one of the Ministry of Education representative. He's the juvenile administrator. The second walk is carded for the 28th of October 2022, and same starts at 9 a.m. at the Tantine Netball Court. We start off with an opening ceremony again before.
Youth Minister Ron Redhead will be the guest speaker for the October 20th event in St. George. Detective Fari says this sensitization drive also seeks to bridge the generational gap, as they will focus on the elderly as well. Here's what they hope to achieve.
certain activities of this nature, we know that we will be bombarded with reports because some persons do not know the proper procedures or mediums, how to reach out to us, how to come forward to make a report. So come out, speak out, report. Do not suppress it, do not hide it, do not keep it. Yes, we want to reduce sexual violence. So education is key. What we intend to achieve is that persons will be more knowledgeable as to their rights as victims and to come forward because there's an entity here to support.
In international news, European leaders meet in Prague to launch a European political community to boost security and economic prosperity across the continent. It has been established in response to the Ukraine war and soaring energy costs.
The first meeting of the European political community brought unlikely countries together, like Armenia and Azerbaijan, as well as candidates for EU membership, like Ukraine, and the UK, returning to the European stage after Brexit.
What we wanted to achieve in meeting here in Prague is to bring together 44 sovereign states which see Europe as a single entity, whatever the particular forms, political or others, to discuss among equals as sovereign states of problems that we face in common. That's exactly what we need.
The group has no formal structure, and some wonder if many more meetings will follow.
It's a question whether it's going to work. We have European Union, but not many countries are members of the European Union. So the idea is to discuss the common issues that we have currently, the security issues that we have on the European continent, and I think it's very important that we have the same views.
The same views, for example, on how to bring energy prices down.
I think the clear message to the gas markets, the energy markets, is that these 44 leaders are completely aligned and have the joint ambition to come up with measures to bring down the gas prices.
They may agree on bringing down prices, but so far no consensus has emerged on how to do this. Packages costing hundreds of billions of euros to help cope with high energy costs, like the one announced by Germany, have led to friction.
All member states can take their own decision. We just indicate that some instruments and changes which are proposed by some member states are very bad for the competition on the European market, and we wanted always to avoid it. And this is why I believe that we have to work out common solutions.
A shared condemnation of Russia's invasion in Ukraine has brought together the leaders of the whole European continent here in Prague, apart from Russia and Belarus. But besides sending a signal to President Putin, they also want to show that they can come up with a common plan to deal with crippling energy prices.
In sports, President of the Americas Netball, Marva Bernard, says she will not be seeking re-election as head of the organization at next week's annual general meeting. The AGM, scheduled for October 14 and 15, will be staged at Ligonier Club in New Kingston. Bernard, a former president of Netball Jamaica, has been president of America's Netball for the past 4 years. In other sporting news, Australia beat West Indies by 31 runs at the Gabba to seal a 2-0 2020 International Series whitewash on Friday. Australia made a total of 178 for 7. The Windies could only muster 147 for 8 in reply. Qatar's national football team players have been pulled from their club teams since June as part of the team's 6-month training camp before the World Cup next month. For your information, Qatar is the host nation for FIFA World Cup 2022. It will be held between November 20 and December 18, with 32 teams competing.
Team's very strong to play at home. We hope that he's going to give us some extra with the help of the people to to try to do well and compete at our highest level.
And that's it for the news on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.